After an excellent month of July for Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs on the recruiting trail, I expect things to slow down a little bit now that the high school football season is starting and college football starting in just a few weeks. But before we get into all of that, I did want to make a video breaking down some top Georgia targets that you still need to keep an eye on this fall and as we move closer and closer to signing day in December. So before I break down Georgia's top remaining targets in the 23 class, I definitely want to plug DAWGSTRUCTION. This is a book that we did, I think, a great job of making this past year, breaking down Georgia's national championship season in 2021. If you don't have it already, make sure you get it because we are running out of copies. This is a book you're going to want to read over and over again over the years, going back down memory lane. When you pick up DAWGSTRUCTION, make sure you pick up the season preview for 2022. As we know, this could be a special season for the Georgia Bulldogs. So make sure you get the season preview that we're offering and get it now because the season does start in just a few weeks. Back to recruiting. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. I've reported for a few weeks now, ever since Georgia missed out on Arch Manning, that they will not take a quarterback in this 23 class, and I still expect that to be the case. At running back, has not been an ideal class so far for Dell McGee and the Georgia Bulldogs. Both their top two running back targets are committed to Alabama. Of course, Justice Haynes and Richard Young. Reuben Owens, a five-star committed to Louisville, but they got to take someone. Right now, Roderick Robinson, a UCLA commitment from San Diego, coming off a nice junior season, over 1,200 yards, 17 touchdowns. Georgia offered him in May, and he is a guy that I'm starting to hear a little bit more about. He's a guy that, one of the top guys on Del McGee's board that isn't committed to Alabama, really. And this dude is a bowling ball, 6'1", about 230 pounds, breaks a lot of tackles. And of course, plays out in California, so you know he's going up against solid competition. So he is definitely a running back to keep an eye on. We'll see if he takes an official visit to Georgia this fall. I still think he has a few official visits to take. So if he ends up in Athens, he's definitely a guy to keep an eye on. Wide receiver, the names are still the same. They've got two on board, Yazeen Hayes and Raymond Cottrell. And thereafter, the same guys I've been reporting for a while now. Tyler Williams, a guy who commits September 27th. He was in Athens this past weekend. I've said for several weeks that I like where Georgia sits with the Lakeland standout in Florida. That's usually a pipeline to Florida, but I like Georgia's chances with him, about 6'3", 180 pounds. Big-time athlete, former basketball star, who has all-world potential, in my opinion. Outstanding receiver. I think Georgia leads A&M and South Carolina, a few others for him. Anthony Evans, track star out of Texas. This could be another Georgia, Texas A&M, Oklahoma battle. I think Georgia sits in an excellent position for him as well. He's usually pretty good about giving Dog Post an update, so we hope to have more on him soon. But he is a guy who can line up in the slot or on the outside, versatile guy with speed. He is a deep field threat and a guy that I think Georgia would love to bring on board. Hakeem Williams, one of the top wide receiver prospects in the country, another kid from Florida. Another big possession receiver with speed who can break tackles. He's a guy who checks all the boxes. I think Georgia sits in a good position for him. Long way to go. Things could move up and down for him. I think Texas A&M is still in the running for him. Miami, Florida State was his dream school. But Georgia's right there. So this might be a signing day type of decision. So still a few months for Georgia to try to get the momentum and stick with the momentum and land him. He is a guy that Brian McClendon would love to have, and I think Georgia fans would be ecstatic if he were to jump on board. On the offensive line, they've got room for one or two. Monroe Freeling is one of the top offensive tackle prospects, number one player in South Carolina. I was told weeks ago that Georgia was in a really good spot for him. He was in Athens this past weekend for the big barbecue weekend. And I've said if Georgia can take that momentum into the fall and he gives Georgia an official visit, which I think he will, not sure when it's going to happen, but I do expect him to take an official visit to Georgia. I think they could easily be the team to beat. Starting to hear more and more about Georgia with Monroe Freeling, a guy who they would love to add, especially if Bo Hewley, their four-star offensive tackle on board right now, starts to lean a little bit towards Auburn. Right now, I think he stays in this class. He told me in February when they didn't even have an offensive line coach, he told me, I'm signing with Georgia. I don't even have an offensive line coach recruiting me there right now, but I am signing with Georgia. We'll see if he sticks with that statement that he told me. But Monroe Freeling is a guy who I think Georgia has a little bit of momentum for. If they take a center, Connor Lew is one to know. He announces in a few days. I think Auburn leads Georgia there. But if they want to take a center and don't end up taking Connor or just flat out missing on him, we'll see if they offer someone else. But still room for one or two on the offensive line. Defense, where there's plenty of targets still available. Let's start on the defensive line. James Smith, 5-star defensive tackle out of Montgomery. Still think that's a Georgia-Alabama battle. Took his first visit to Florida this past weekend. Don't think the Gators are really in the mix. Again, I would stick with what I've been hearing for a few weeks now, that Alabama leads Georgia for James Smith, a massive 6'5", 310 bully defensive tackle out of Montgomery. Xavier McLeod, number 3 player in South Carolina. He's another massive dude, like 6'5", 330 out of South Carolina. Of course, I've always been told that the Gamecocks were the leader there. He was in Athens this past weekend. Starting to think Georgia, if they push for him, absolutely has a chance to steal him away from the Gamecocks. So definitely a guy to keep an eye on. We'll see if he takes an official visit to Georgia. I still think he has official visits lined up for the fall, and I think Georgia could steal one. I don't think I have that wrong. I might. I kind of wrote that wrong in my notes, but Xavier McLeod, big-time defensive tackle, definitely keep your eye on. Jordan Hall, big-time defensive tackle, again, from Florida, the Jacksonville area. Didn't play on a great team this past year, but he is a guy who's long. He's got big hands, 6'5", 300, cook off the ball, and his best football is ahead of him. I think has a lot of potential. He has a really high ceiling. If this comes down to Georgia and Florida State, I think Georgia could absolutely win that battle. So he's definitely one to know. We'll see how many times he shows up in Athens. I still think he has an official visit lined up for Georgia in the fall as well. I think he took a visit in June, was not an official visit last time I checked. And then Kelby Collins from Gardendale High School in Alabama, a guy to keep an eye on. I don't think Georgia necessarily leads right here, but I definitely think they're in his top 3. So definitely one to watch. Borderline 5-star. The state of Alabama is loaded in the 23 class. Kelby Collins is a guy that people really like out there, and another guy to keep an eye on that Georgia's been recruiting for a long time now. Now on the edge, they do have outside linebacker Gabe Harris, committed 6'5", about 250. Dynamic pass rusher from Valdosta High School, but they're looking to add at least one more there. Samuel Mpemba is a guy we've written about for a while now, former wide receiver from Missouri, plays at IMG Academy. I think Miami is probably the team to beat there. Damon Wilson, another 5-star from Florida. Doesn't talk a whole lot about his recruitment. I think there's a few schools still in the mix. I think this could come down to Alabama and Georgia. He's another guy to keep an eye on. And of course, Quay Russaw, James Smith's teammate, 5-star edge defender, 130 tackles, I think close to 20 sacks last year from Montgomery, Carver High School. Good friends with James Smith. They go on visits together. Of those two, I think Georgia probably has a better chance of landing Russaw than James Smith. A lot of people think that they are kind of a tandem. They're going to the same place. We'll see. But I think if there's one of those two guys that's probably leaning Georgia's way, it's Quay Russaw. 6'3", 230-pound, again, terrific pass rusher who can set the edge, looks the part, already looks like he can go out there and be an SEC edge defender this fall, but I expect him to have a monster senior season. Another 5-star guy from Alabama that Georgia is in on. We'll see if they start to take the lead for him in the fall. Probably another signing day guy. In the secondary, Georgia's got 4 already. 5-star A.J. Harris, 4-star Justin Rhett, 5-star safety Janelle Aguaro, 4-star cornerback Daniel Harris. Room for about 1 or 2 more. Chris Peel is a guy we've had our eye on for a while now, 6 foot, about 170 pounds. Just a natural covered corner, fundamentally sound. He's got good technique out of the Charlotte area. I think Georgia is the team to beat for him if that's the guy that they continue to push for possibly that final spot. Ricky Gibson out of Hewitt Trustville High School, north of Birmingham, I believe is where he is. Another kid who can run, 6 foot, again, 170 pounds. Those two are both guys with length, decent size, who can run. And again, if you're going to play in Georgia secondary, you have to have some size to you, but you have to know how to run, and you have to have some natural instincts, know what you're doing, know how to cover, and be on an island. I think both of these two guys could get the job done. Ricky Gibson, a 3-star, who I think is going to see his ranking improve. Chris Peel, a solid middle-of-the-road 4-star guy. So 2 defensive backs to note. If they have room for both, I think they could land both. We'll see if it's 1 or 2 more guys they want to add in the secondary. But overall, those are just a quick list of top targets I think Georgia fans should keep an eye on over the next 5 months. So It's not a full class. There's still plenty of spots available. And those are the guys I think Georgia is in the running for. Of course, if you have any questions, make sure you head over to Dog Post. I answer questions there nonstop. So go check us out over on the website. The season is coming. It is getting closer and closer. I'm so excited for high school football. Going to have tons of recruiting updates. There's already a bunch on the website from this past weekend, multiple updates on 5-star prospects. So make sure you go check us out over on Dog Post. And subscribe before the season starts. You are not going to be disappointed. Guys, thanks for watching this video. As always, stay tuned to the next one coming up right now, and I'll see you over on Dog Post.